What you're about to hear is not a theory. It's not a technique. It's a vibration that only appears when your frequency changes. And if this video showed up for you, it's because it already has. Yes, Thoth's forbidden frequency has found you. And this is not a metaphor. It's a code. You're about to say a single phrase. But this phrase, when said in the right state, activates a vibration that can't be turned off. And that's why you need to listen until the end. Because this activation doesn't happen halfway. Now breathe. Feel what's happening in your body, because the field is already reacting. But before you speak, you need to remember who you are. Have you ever felt like something was trying to wake you up? Not with words, but with synchronicities. A number that repeats, a thought that won't go away, a video that shows up right now. That's not a coincidence. It's a response. You're not watching this by chance. This call was sent even before you clicked here. And only those who reach this moment are vibrating high enough to hear it. Most people will never know this. They're stuck in the invisible race of the matrix. But you felt the discomfort. You noticed that something doesn't quite fit. And that's why now, right now, Thoth's forbidden frequency starts to reveal itself. But pay attention. This still isn't the secret. The true turning point is hidden in a single key, and it will only be delivered in the final seconds of this video. If you leave early, you'll miss the code. But if you stay till the end, you'll feel the frequency light up inside you. So, stay. Because this isn't just another spiritual message. It's the start of a full vibrational reprogramming. And it starts now. But why does this happen? Why does reality suddenly seem to respond differently, like it has its own consciousness? The answer lies in something that's been hidden for centuries, a secret not even religion could explain, and that science is still crawling to understand. There's a blind spot between what the ancient masters knew and what modernity tried to erase, and that's where Thoth comes in. Most people see the world as something separate from them. Here I am, and life is out there. As if the universe were a cold machine, ruled by luck, fate, or divine punishment. But Thoth didn't see the world like that. He taught that the entire universe is a living mind, not a metaphor, a real, vibrant, sensitive, and responsive mind. An intelligent field where everything you think, feel, and vibrate comes back to you in exact form. While religions created external figures to represent the divine, and science tried to reduce everything to mechanical logic, Thoth spoke of something beyond both, a vibrational consciousness behind everything. He called it the all-mind. And within that mind, there's a secret. A frequency, a hidden pattern that governs birth, healing, manifestation, expansion. And the most impressive part? This frequency isn't theoretical, it's felt. It's like the universe has a password, a vibrational tone, and when you access it, everything starts aligning automatically. But this frequency can't be measured with normal instruments because it's not on the visible level. It operates on a subtler plane where thought, emotion, and intention shape what we call reality. Maybe that sounds strange, but think with me. How many times have you had an intuition so strong it was impossible to ignore? How many times have you thought of someone and that person messaged you seconds later? How many times did something feel too much of a coincidence to be just chance? Those little phenomena aren't random. They're fragments of that vibrational intelligence acting in real time. And this isn't just spirituality. Modern physics itself is starting to touch this truth. Quantum researchers discovered that the observer influences the behavior of particles. That reality changes depending on the consciousness observing it. It's like the universe isn't a fixed stage, but a dynamic response to what you vibrate. But while science studies this with formulas and experiments, the ancients already used this knowledge practically. Thoth, the Egyptian priests, the Vedic masters, the Sufi mystics, they all had practices to access this frequency. And you know what's curious? None of those practices involved extreme effort, sacrifices, or grand rituals, because this access doesn't depend on force. It depends on tuning. You don't force a radio station to play your favorite song. You turn the dial until you find the right frequency. And with the universe, it's the same. Only no one taught you this, because if you knew, you wouldn't depend on institutions, gurus, or dogmas anymore. You'd know you can connect directly with the creative mind, through your own vibration. And now comes the most important part. There's a specific point inside you that works like a transmitter, a living antenna. And it's through it that communication with the field starts to happen. You don't need to look outside or wait for something to happen. This point is already active. You just need to learn how to use it. And there's an exact way to start communicating with it. The first key is already in your body. You don't realize it, but at this very moment, you're transmitting signals, not with words or gestures, with vibration. What you feel right now, in this instant, is shaping how the field around you responds. Your body vibrates, your emotions vibrate, your mind vibrates. And that vibration creates waves, invisible but real. They touch environments, influence people, pull experiences in your direction. It's like you're a living antenna, always broadcasting a frequency. The difference is, most people do this on autopilot without knowing what they're tuning into. Joy has a frequency. Guilt has another. Fear, another. Gratitude, another. And all of them are being broadcast all the time, even when you're silent, even when you're lying down, still, doing nothing. Because you're not just a body, you're a vibrational field in constant motion. And that field is being read all the time by the universe, as if each emotion were a password that allows or blocks what can enter your life. There's no point in saying you want peace if what you're vibrating is anxiety. No point in asking for love if you vibrate neediness. No point in praying for abundance if you vibrate fear of scarcity, because the universe doesn't respond to your mouth. It responds to your vibration. And this is the first key. The frequency you emit right now is creating the scenario of your life. And maybe that scares you a little. After all, no one taught you to take care of this. They taught you how to dress well, speak properly, have a good resume. But no one taught you how to regulate your frequency. No one explained to you that feeling constant anger creates a field of resistance. That sustaining constant frustration triggers repetition cycles. That vibrating love, and not just talking about it, changes the way time and opportunities move around you. And you know what's curious? You've already felt this. Remember when you were feeling so good, so light, that everything seemed to go right without effort? Or that day when everything felt stuck, and just one little thing going wrong triggered a storm of problems? That wasn't a coincidence. It was vibration. Your field creates a kind of invisible atmosphere that changes the path of events. Thoth used to say, "The man who masters vibration doesn't need to ask, he just receives." Because the request is already implicit in the vibration he sustains, and the field responds. Exactly, like an echo, a mirror, a reflection. And that's why this key is so powerful, because it's always active. Even if you ignore it, it keeps working. The question is, are you broadcasting what you want to receive? It's like a radio station you forgot was on. You might be hearing a song you don't like, but unless you change the frequency, it keeps playing. It's the same with your life. If you feel like you're repeating experiences you no longer want, the problem isn't out there. It's in the signal you're broadcasting from within. And before your mind says, "But I don't know how to control this," breathe. Because the first step isn't to control, it's to notice, to become aware. to recognize that this field is in motion, that it's real, that you are the broadcasting center. Just that changes everything. Because the moment you know you're vibrating, you can start to choose how to vibrate. And vibration doesn't come from logic. It comes from emotion. That's why trying to convince the universe with mental arguments doesn't work. The universe doesn't understand words. It feels your frequency, and frequency comes from what you feel, believe, and hold, not from what you repeat, from what you truly vibrate when no one is looking. But what if there was a way to use words to instantly shift that vibration? That's what no one ever showed you. But before you speak, you need to listen, not with your ears. Listen with your field. And this is where almost everyone stumbles. Because learning to listen to the field isn't something we were ever taught. No one explained how to be silent inside. Most people only know silence as the absence of speech, as a closed mouth, a pause in conversation. But that's not the silence that transforms. True silence is a vibrational state. It's when the mind, body, and heart stop emitting unnecessary noise and start tuning in to what has always been there but never noticed. We live in a world overloaded with stimuli, lights, sounds, pressure, screens, opinions, notifications, inner and outer demands. Everything competes for your attention. And the more noise you consume, the harder it gets to hear the field's frequency, because the field speaks differently. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear that whisper, you have to go back inward. You have to create a space where the noise stops, even if just for a moment. A space where you can finally feel what you're feeling without trying to fix it, without running, without naming. Just feel. But it doesn't happen right away. At first, when you try to quiet down, what shows up is the opposite. Noise, a storm of thoughts, anxiety, uncomfortable sensations, random memories, unfinished scenes, and that's why so many give up. They think they're failing, but that's exactly where the real work begins. Real silence isn't the absence of noise, it's the decision not to engage with it. It's like being in a room with many voices talking at once, and you just sit down, breathe, and observe, without trying to shut anyone up, without trying to respond. Just listen, without getting lost. In that moment, something starts to shift. The internal frequency begins to slow down. The heart starts to find a new rhythm. The body stops fighting and starts resting. And in that rest, a new perception arises. It's like an invisible layer of reality opens up before you. You don't understand it with your mind. You feel it with your field. It's a perception that comes through resonance, not logic. A wisdom that wasn't learned, but has always been there, waiting to be accessed. Thoth spoke of this phenomenon as the sound born from stillness, a sound with no sound, a sound that doesn't need acoustic vibration to be real. It's the sound of subtle truth, of living information, of presence that communicates without words. When you enter that state, the universe starts showing you things that can't be seen with physical eyes. These are perceptions that arrive as deep insights, as sensations so exact that no explanation is needed. It's like you just know something, and you know that you know, even if you can't explain why. That's the real value of spiritual silence. It's not emptiness. It's a fertile field where invisible seeds sprout, where the answers you were seeking start to appear, not as conclusions, but as vibrations. And at that point, you don't need to control anything anymore. You start dancing with life. Because silence creates space for authentic movement, the kind that doesn't come from a restless mind, but from the vibrational center of being. And the most beautiful part is that this state doesn't take years of practice. It doesn't need some complex technique. It just takes presence. Anyone, anywhere, can access it right now. Just breathe. Just observe without reacting. Just allow yourself to pause for a few minutes and listen to what your field has been trying to tell you all along, that field that carries the answers, the guidance, the next steps, that field that already knows the way, even when you feel lost. In the beginning, it might feel uncomfortable because silence exposes what you've been trying to muffle with distractions. But if you have the courage to stay, even for just a few minutes, on the other side of that discomfort lies something grand, a deep peace that depends on nothing, a clarity that cuts through any doubt, a connection that makes every cell in your body remember that you were never alone. And when that silence meets a clear internal image, a specific vision of what you want to live, something magical happens. It's like reality starts molding itself from that vibrational coherence. The ancients called this a magic vision, not because it involved spells, but because it was the union of silence with intention, the fusion of stillness with direction. In that state, you don't need to ask for anything. You're already vibrating what you want. And the field, with absolute precision, responds. Not because you shouted, but because you tuned in. And that is true listening. The listening that comes before command, the listening that aligns, the listening that activates. But that vision that transforms doesn't come from your physical eyes. It's born in the silence of your awareness. It's like you project a subtle movie inside your vibrational field, a movie that doesn't need a screen or words, but sends real signals to the universe. And the most fascinating thing is that the universe responds to that silent movie as if it were a clear instruction. It doesn't distinguish whether what you're seeing inside already happened or is going to happen. It responds to the vibrational pattern you emit while holding that image. But there's one detail that changes everything. That movie only starts gaining real power when it's charged with real emotion. Emotion is the fuel of the vision. The image alone is just a frame, a loose idea. But when you feel what you see, when you vibrate what you visualize, you turn that frame into a field. And that field starts molding, slowly and precisely, the invisible layers of your external reality. To visualize is not just to lightly imagine or daydream. That's fantasy. And fantasy doesn't move deep structures. Real visualization is accessing a state where your mind, your body, and your field vibrate together in the same direction. It's creating an inner experience so real that your nervous system starts to react as if it were happening now. And the most surprising part? The body believes it. The brain activates the same regions it would if the scene were really happening. The chemistry shifts, the hormones change, your heartbeat changes, your vibration changes. You've probably noticed this in simple moments. When a bad thought shows up and you start to feel your heart race, your breathing gets short, your body tense. The thought alone didn't do anything, but the image it triggered set off a vibrational response. Now imagine the power of doing that consciously, intentionally, and positively. Imagine visualizing a scene of healing, of love, of wholeness, and feeling your whole body respond with peace, with lightness, with presence. That's not illusion. That's vibrational reprogramming. That's internal alchemy. Now think about someone who constantly sees themselves failing, who imagines being rejected, criticized, ridiculed. That person is creating a destructive inner field, and that field starts attracting situations that confirm that vibration. Not because the universe wants to punish them, but because the universe is exact. It only reflects. Now think of someone who, every single day, even in silence, closes their eyes and sees themselves victorious, present, calm, flowing with life. That person isn't pretending. They're training their frequency. and everything in the universe responds to vibrational training with absolute precision. Thoth used to say that the image held in spirit becomes matter, and this is more than a metaphor. Spirit here is the active vibrational field you emit when you're present. It's your consciousness in a creative state. Holding an image with that activated spirit is like planting a seed in fertile soil and watering it with coherence every day. First, it creates invisible roots. Then it breaks through the ground. And finally, it blooms for everyone to see. Many people make mistakes because they treat visualization as a mental exercise. They imagine quickly, they skip the details, they don't get emotionally involved. Or worse, they visualize something with a heart full of doubt, fear, or impatience. And that creates a confused field. And a confused field creates unstable results. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate with clarity. Powerful visualization requires surrender. It requires you to dive into the scene as if you're already there, to see the colors, hear the sounds, feel the wind, feel the touch, breathe like you're living it, and more than anything, to allow yourself to feel the joy, the gratitude, the peace of being there. In that moment, you're not wishing anymore. You already are. You already live it inside, and that changes everything. And then, something starts happening on the outside. The right connections show up. Unexpected opportunities appear. Things begin to realign. Not by coincidence, but by resonance. Because what is faithfully cultivated in the invisible always finds a way to manifest in the visible. The image is the seed. The emotion is the water. Persistence is the light. And reality is the harvest. But there's an even more powerful next step. When the image joins with sound. When the vision combines with the vibration of your voice. And this activates another level. This is where we enter the vibration of the word. But not the word as simple language, not the sound that fills the silence of a regular conversation. We're talking about the word as frequency, as spiritual technology, as a living command released directly into the energy field around you. Most people speak out of habit, impulse, repetition. They say words all day long without any awareness of the power they're releasing. But sound is vibration, and vibration shapes the invisible. Every time you say something, you're sending a signal, a code, an energetic signature, and the field, silently, responds exactly to what you put out. That's why a single phrase can heal or destroy. It can lift someone's spirit for days or rip the faith out of their soul because words aren't neutral. They carry intention, they carry memory, and most of all, they carry emotion. But it's not enough just to speak. What transforms isn't the word alone. It's the vibrational charge behind it. It's the alignment between what you say, what you feel, and what you're willing to hold with your presence. And here lies the most overlooked secret of manifestation. Sound spoken with intention becomes form. This is one of the Hermetic laws Thoth left echoing in the most hidden texts. He said that sound is the first mold of matter, that before anything exists in the physical world, it vibrates in the invisible through the word. The word, when charged with emotional truth, becomes the seed of reality. You've experienced this without realizing it. When someone spoke to you with anger and your whole body reacted. When someone spoke to you with love and your entire vibration changed. Or when you repeated a phrase to yourself over and over until suddenly it wasn't just a phrase anymore. It became a real feeling. That's it. Repetition isn't about memorizing. It's about vibrating until it becomes real. But here's the essential point. Affirmations don't work on autopilot. Repeating a phrase while your heart is tense, your mind in doubt, and your body disconnected doesn't change anything. On the contrary, It might even create more frustration, because the field doesn't hear what comes out of your mouth. It hears what pulses from your field, what you're really feeling when you say it. That's why phrases like, "I am prosperous," "I am capable," "I am free" only have power when spoken with surrender, with involvement, with presence. The word is like a flashlight frequency. It lights up the field around you and starts to reorganize the vibrational parts that were scattered, asleep, disordered. Every true affirmation is like a new code sent to the universe, and the universe, which never fails, begins to respond, first in subtle ways, then in tangible ones. People show up, circumstances shift, opportunities line up, not by coincidence, but by coherence between what was declared and what's being held energetically. And there's something even deeper to this. When you speak something out with power, you're not just creating a new field around you, you're dismantling the old ones. You're literally reprogramming the vibrational circuits that used to run on autopilot, replaying fears, scarcity, blocks, and doubts. You're changing the messages of your subconscious. You're teaching your field who you've chosen to be from now on, and that changes everything. The practice, at first, might feel weird. You might feel silly saying phrases out loud. You might doubt yourself, but that's normal. That's just the old field trying to keep what was comfortable. But if you keep going, if you stick with the practice consistently and with presence, something inside you will start to accept this new vibrational identity. And when that happens, the outside has no choice but to reorganize itself. Think of each phrase as a drop of sound falling into a calm lake. The ripples expand. They touch the shores. They shift the surface. And even if the water goes back to looking still, the vibration you place there remains. It keeps echoing. That's the true power of intentional speech. It plants lasting vibrations in the field. Vibrations that keep working even after you go quiet. So, try it now, with courage, with honesty. Start with simple phrases, but full of feeling. I already am this now. I am worthy. I am light. I am one with the all. Feel the vibration of these words coming not just from your mouth, but from your core, from your soul. Notice how your body responds, how your breath shifts, how the environment around you seems to listen. And if even after applying all of this, you still feel like something's missing, it's because Thoth left one last piece. The piece that completes the vibrational puzzle. A piece so powerful he hid it in the spaces between his teachings, waiting for only those who vibrated at the right frequency to be able to find it. And now, maybe that moment has arrived. And this piece has nothing to do with how much you know. It has to do with how much you are. Because between knowing something and living it, there's a gap. An invisible space where many people fall without realizing. They watch, study, repeat phrases, do the exercises, but deep down, they keep vibrating the same thing. And then they start to doubt everything. Think it doesn't work, that it's all an illusion, that it's an exaggeration. But the problem isn't the method. It's the identity that hasn't changed yet. Knowing is the first step. But knowing too much without becoming anything paralyzes. You start accumulating theories, techniques, practices, but you're still the same person inside. Change doesn't happen through the content you consume. It happens through the content you embody. When something stops being an idea in your head and becomes a frequency in your field, that's why so many people get frustrated with spirituality, with universal laws, with affirmations, with visualization. Because they do everything on the outside, but on the inside, they remain in the same vibrational state. And there's no technique that works when your identity vibrates the opposite of what you desire. You can say, "I'm prosperous" 100 times a day, But if deep down you feel small, scared, full of guilt, that's what you're vibrating. And the field responds to what you are, not to what you say you are. Thoth called this invisible space the veil between the subtle and the dense. The subtle is what you learn, intuit, believe. The dense is what you live, feel, manifest. And while those two worlds aren't aligned, you stay stuck in between, like someone looking through the window, seeing the horizon, but not able to step outside the house. That veil needs to be crossed. And crossing that veil isn't something done with mental effort. It's a vibrational shift, a change of axis. It's when you stop chasing results and start sustaining states. You stop running after change and start vibrating as if it were already real. You stop being the student and become the channel. You stop repeating truths and begin to emanate truth. But what blocks this jump from knowing to being is something subtle. The rush, the comparison, the doubt, the feeling that you're not ready yet. And that keeps a lot of people trapped in an endless cycle of preparation, thinking they need to know more, understand more, have more control, when in truth, all they need is to trust, breathe, and cross that formless space that only responds to the vibration of now. And this is exactly where the path begins. But it's not an outer path. It's an inner movement, an invisible adjustment that starts with something most people don't even notice as part of their vibration: your breath. It's so simple, it goes unnoticed, so constant that you forget it's there all the time. But that's exactly why it holds the greatest hidden potential, because everything essential is silent. And everything silent has the power to reorganize vibration from the inside out. Breathing isn't just biological, it's vibrational. It's the invisible thread between what you feel and what you manifest. Every time you inhale, you pull living energy into your field. Every time you exhale, you release information, emotions, patterns, blocks. But when you breathe with intention, something shifts. Breathing stops being automatic and becomes a technology, a bridge between the invisible and the real. Thoth said the true sound wasn't what came out of your mouth, but what was born in the air that flows between your soul and your body. And that sound has a name. It's ancient. It's vibrational. It's Hu. Hu doesn't need to be spoken out loud. In fact, its most powerful form happens in silence. When you inhale feeling Hu inside you, without saying it, without forcing it, just listening internally, the field around you starts to reconfigure. Because Hu is the primordial sound hidden in your own breath. It's been there since you were born, even before you learned to speak, to think, to choose. It comes before the ego, and because of that, it accesses a field the ego can't reach. This sound has no language, belongs to no religion, and isn't tied to any dogma. It vibrates beyond beliefs, beyond borders. That's why so many mystics from different traditions described similar experiences when breathing with awareness. Because when you breathe with presence, Hu reveals itself. Not as an external sound, but as an internal sensation, a pulse, a memory, a calling. And the most amazing part is, you can access this now. No ritual needed, no preparation. Just stop, close your eyes, inhale like you're listening to something that's always been with you. Exhale like you're letting go of everything that blocks that listening. Do this for a few minutes, and you'll feel it. You don't need to understand, you need to feel. Because Hu doesn't go through the mind, it goes straight through the field and changes everything inside. This is the sixth key: breathing consciously, invoking the silent vibration that has always been there. A vibration that Thoth said was capable of opening inner portals, activating ancient memories, recalibrating subtle bodies. And when that breath merges with your body's movement, you activate the hidden geometry of the universe. Because the body isn't just a physical instrument, it's condensed vibration. Every gesture, every step, every move you make leaves a vibrational imprint in the field. And the field listens. It listens to how you move, the intention behind how you get out of bed, how you step on the floor, how you place your hand on your chest when you want to feel something. The body is a living antenna, but it only starts to transmit correctly when you move with awareness. Think about the planets. They don't spin randomly. Their movements follow a precise, mathematical, harmonic dance, and that dance generates frequency. That frequency creates resonance, and that resonance sustains life. It's the same with you. When you move your body with presence, with intention, with truth, you start dancing with the all. Thoth taught that the body was the seven-stringed harp of the soul, and that each conscious movement tuned that harp to the sound of the universe. When you dance with presence, it doesn't matter if you're doing a formal practice or just walking down the street. What matters is the inner state, the vibration behind the gesture. The simple act of walking can be a prayer. Raising your arm can be a calling. The rotation of your hips can be an invocation. But that only happens when you come off autopilot, when you stop moving like a repetitive machine and start moving like a vibrational being. That's why ancient practices like Qigong, the dervishes, yoga, or the dances of indigenous peoples had so much power. It wasn't about the technique. It was about the intention. It was about moving the body as if every cell was in dialogue with the all. Because it was. You want to change your reality? Start by changing how you walk to the kitchen, how you breathe while stretching, how you lay down. Because every act of the body is a gesture of the soul. And when you understand that, your body becomes a portal. You stop moving to get somewhere and start moving to vibrate something. That's the moment the field responds. Because you're no longer trying to push reality, you're dancing with it. But if all this vibrates, why does your reality still resist? It's because you still haven't stopped trying to control. This is the blind spot almost no one sees. The hidden effort that blocks everything even when you're doing everything right. You breathe, visualize, affirm, but deep down, you're still gripping reality with your hands. And the more you try to control what comes, when it comes, and how it comes, the more you vibrate the exact opposite of trust. Control is a disguised form of fear. Fear that it won't work out. Fear that you'll be forgotten. Fear that if you don't take the reins, the universe will fail. But the universe doesn't fail. It only responds. And when you vibrate fear, insecurity, urgency, even using beautiful words or elevated techniques, the field responds to that fear. It responds to the hidden frequency, not your conscious intention. It's like trying to tune an instrument, but your fingers are tense. The note will never sound pure. Thoth spoke of this as the paradox of magic. Those who try to dominate, weaken. Those who surrender with awareness, transform. This has nothing to do with passivity. It has to do with knowing when to act and when to release. Understanding that the right vibration doesn't require blind effort, but inner alignment. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's trusting so deeply in the vibration you hold that you don't need immediate proof. It's knowing the field is organizing even when nothing outside seems to move. It's in that confident stillness that the forbidden frequency comes closer. The frequency doesn't enter rigid systems. It only manifests in spaces that have space. And that space only appears when you let go. You don't need to push the door. You need to become someone who vibrates like they're already on the other side of it. And when you stop resisting, the forbidden frequency shows up. And that happens in the next part. It's not in a temple. It's not in some sacred corner hidden on top of a mountain. It's not in an expensive ceremony, nor in the words of an enlightened master. What Thoth recorded in the most hidden fragments of his teachings wasn't a secret formula you needed to decode with rituals, but a key hidden in something most people ignore: your own presence. The entry to the frequency isn't anywhere outside of you. It pulses within your own field, like a forgotten echo waiting to be remembered. And maybe you're asking yourself, why wasn't this said straight up like this? Why didn't anyone reveal this path with simplicity? The answer is only one. Because this truth requires vibrational maturity. It gives the responsibility back to you. It doesn't give you excuses. It doesn't offer shortcuts. It doesn't feed the illusion that someone is going to come save you. Once you understand the portal is internal, you can't run anymore. You can't blame the world anymore. And most of all, you can't pretend you don't know. This point of activation is not a positive thought. It's not an intense emotion, and it's also not just a gesture or behavior. It's the crossing point of all three. It's when what you believe connects to what you feel and what you do. When your mind isn't sabotaging your heart. When your heart isn't paralyzing your body. When your body isn't resisting your spirit. That alignment creates a field of coherence so strong that the reality around you has no choice but to respond. Thoth called this the harmony of being in its totality. And it wasn't poetry. It was vibrational technology, because the field doesn't respond to what you think or what you want. It responds to what you consistently emanate, and consistency only exists when there's coherence. When all parts of you are dancing in the same rhythm, and when that happens, you don't even need to ask anymore. Reality starts to shape itself naturally, effortlessly, without control, without struggle. You've felt this before, maybe for a few seconds, maybe subtly. That moment when you were so present, so connected to yourself, that everything just flowed. Conversations lined up, time seemed to stop, ideas came effortlessly, nothing was planned, yet everything worked out. That state wasn't luck, it was vibration, it was a crack in the veil, a silent demonstration that the portal was already active, even if you hadn't noticed. But the problem is most people can't sustain that state because they live in mental overload, in the excess of expectations, in the excess of comparison. And then comes the frustration, because studying doesn't activate, wanting doesn't activate, copying someone else's practice doesn't activate. What activates is the vibrational fusion between what you know, feel, and do. Only convergence activates. Only the whole being manifests. And that's why, even after so many courses, videos, books, and attempts, many still feel like nothing has really changed, because Thoth's frequency can't be memorized. It's not a technique, it's a state. A field of inner coherence that, when accessed, emanates something the universe immediately recognizes, not as a request, but as a confirmation. And now that you've understood all of this clearly, now that you recognize that the activation point was never outside, but has always been you, the moment has come. But it's not just any moment, because what you're about to do only works if it's real, if it's whole, if it's felt. Because activation is simple, but maintaining it is for those who are ready. This is the shift from seeker to carrier, from student to transmitter, from the one who asks to the one who vibrates the answer. And that moment begins now. Because what you're about to do now is not some mystical repetition learned from a video. It's not an external ritual with fixed steps. It's not a mantra someone taught you hoping that something would magically change. What's about to rise from within you is a vibrational command. A silent calling that doesn't come from the mind, but from the essence. It's born from your awakened presence, from your conscious choice, And from your recognition that the time for waiting is over, you're going to say a single phrase, just one. But don't underestimate it, because this phrase, if spoken with truth, becomes a living frequency. It's not the sound itself, it's the field it invokes. And that field only responds to the oldest language there is, authentic vibration. This phrase is a code, an ancestral code, a code that belongs to no language, doesn't fit into any religion, doesn't depend on doctrine or anyone's approval, because this code is universal, timeless, innate. But here's the crucial point. There's no point in rushing through it. No use imitating, no use trying to find the perfect tone. If it's automatic, it's empty. If it's memorized, it's fragile, because the universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to what's behind them. It responds to the vibrational intention that fills the sound. It's as if each letter, each syllable is soaked in your consciousness. If it's not, the phrase simply has no force. It doesn't access anything. It just vanishes into the air, like so many other promises made without soul. That's why preparation is everything. You need to be whole, connected, with your feet firmly grounded in the now, and your heart beating to the rhythm of truth. It's in that state that the phrase becomes the carrier of something greater. When you breathe consciously, silence the mental noise and feel every part of your being align. Something opens. You feel it, not outside, but inside. A subtle and powerful shift, a living stillness. And that stillness announces that the moment has arrived. If you speak just to speak, nothing changes. If you say it because someone told you to, or out of curiosity, or out of exhaustion, it'll be in vain. But if you close your eyes now and feel that your entire field is already saying it, even before your mouth moves, then you've activated. Because the phrase isn't the trigger, your state is. The phrase is just the final confirmation of what your body, your emotions, and your consciousness have already begun to emit. This is the point where activation no longer depends on techniques. It depends on presence. And presence is everything. It's when you stop waiting for an external sign and become the sign. When you stop searching for light and realize you were already emitting it. True activation isn't spectacular. It's silent. But when it happens, it reverberates inside you so strongly that you just know. You simply know that something's been triggered and there's no going back, because you crossed the line. And here's what no one told you. You don't need to understand exactly what's happening. You just need to allow it. Allowing is the portal. When you give that permission truthfully, the entire universe listens. Invisible pieces begin to move. Answers start to find you. Alignments begin to manifest, but it all starts with your decision to stop running from yourself. So now, take a deep breath in. Feel that this is not just another moment. It's the moment. Feel the air coming in, filling you, creating space. Feel your whole body preparing, as if every cell recognizes that something is about to be spoken. Something that doesn't come from outside, but from your oldest and most alive part. And when you're ready, you won't just speak, you will vibrate, and the field around you will respond. Now close your eyes. Breathe. Because the moment has arrived. So now, no rush, no tension, just allow. Bring your attention to your body. Feel your feet touching the ground. Feel the air around you, and slowly start breathing more consciously. A long breath, deep, effortless, but fully present. Inhale, feeling the air fill every space inside you, as if it doesn't just pass through your lungs, but touches every layer of your being. Feel as if you're inflating your own field, expanding an invisible bubble of presence all around you. And as you breathe, begin to become more intimate with the moment, more grounded, more whole. Let thoughts come, if they want to come. But don't get into them, don't fight them. Just observe them like clouds passing through the sky of your mind. Nothing needs to be silenced by force. All you need is not to get lost, not to get distracted, not to leave this inner place of deep presence. Be here, only here. As if everything around you ceased to exist for a few seconds, as if reality were waiting in silence for your vibrational decision. Now go further. Deepen your presence by activating sensory imagination. Don't visualize loosely or generically. See clearly. As if your eyes were inside the scene. Feel as if you're inside what you want to manifest. See yourself there, living it. Walking in that new state. Surrounded by the people, the places, the atmosphere you've always dreamed of. Notice the textures, the sounds, the colors around you. How the light hits the objects. How the environment vibrates differently now that your presence is aligned with what's true for you. And more importantly, feel how that reflects inside your body. How would your chest feel if it were already real? What would be the weight or lightness in your shoulders? How would your eyes be vibrating? And your skin? Would it be warmer, more sensitive, more awake? Notice the rhythm of your breath in that state, the pulsing of your heart, as if your entire system were tuned to the frequency of what is already yours by vibrational right. Now, when everything is synchronized inside you, no doubt, no effort, no tension, just total presence, then speak. Don't speak like a request. Speak like a declaration that echoes from the origin of your being, with firmness, with clean intention, with your whole body holding the phrase, I already am this now. My frequency is in harmony with the all. And after that, silence. Nothing else needs to be done. Nothing needs to be repeated in desperation, because it's not about quantity. It's about coherence. And coherence is when your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions say the same thing at the same time. Activation doesn't need to be a spectacle. It needs to be truth. So now, just feel. Feel the echo of that phrase expanding inside you, like a wave starting in the center of your chest and filling the space around you. Don't look for external signs. Don't wait for proof, because activation happens in the invisible. But it's real as gravity, as precise as the mathematics of the universe. And when you enter vibrational coherence, the field listens immediately, without delay, without noise, without filter. If you stay in that state even for just a few minutes, something has already started to move. Something invisible has already been touched. And maybe you don't feel anything right now, but the code has been recorded, the signature has been sent, the vibration has been anchored, and everything that was out of alignment with that will begin to dissolve over time. Reality will slowly start to realign, not because you demanded it, but because you vibrated it. You became a point of coherence in the middle of chaos. Now, stay. Just stay. In silence, as if you were listening to the universe respond, as if the air around you had changed in texture, in temperature, in density, because it has. You have. And that state that once felt unreachable is now here, inside, alive, timeless. But here's the final key. Activating is not the end of the journey. Activating is the beginning. The seed has been planted. Now it needs to be watered, nourished, sustained. True power isn't just in saying it once, it's in living it every day, with presence, with intention, with courage. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you now, because sustaining the frequency is where the miracle becomes constant, because this is the real turning point. Activation was only the first step. Now comes the most important part, sustaining it. because it's no use opening a door if you don't walk through it and stay on the other side. The frequency you accessed is real. It's already alive inside you, but it's still young. It's still growing roots, like a seed that's sprouted, but still needs time, presence, and strength to bloom in truth. You can't expect it to sustain itself. It needs to be nurtured. And that doesn't happen through force. It happens through conscious choice. Sustaining the frequency doesn't mean living in a constant state of euphoria. It doesn't mean ignoring problems or forcing toxic positivity. Sustaining means staying lucid even when everything shakes. It's remembering what you activated when the world around you tries to make you forget. It's keeping your breath steady while everything out there tries to speed you up. It's choosing over and over again not to fall back into the old patterns of automatic reaction. And that, yes, is sacred. Because it's in that moment that you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the cause. And here's a truth few people understand. Frequency is not an emotion. It's vibrational coherence between what you think, feel, and do. It's a state where intention and action walk hand in hand, where your words don't contradict your energy, where your vibration walks into the room before you do. And that's what begins to attract different responses from the field, not because it worked, but because now you're broadcasting in a stable way, constant, clear. It's exactly at this point that the so-called miracles begin to happen. But they're not random magic. They are natural responses from a field that recognizes coherence. The people around you start behaving differently. Doors that were shut begin to creak open. Coincidences intensify. What you've always been searching for starts to find you. Because the universe was never testing you, it always responded. The difference is, until now, you were sending out mixed signals. Not anymore. But let's be honest, there will be days when you'll feel like you've lost the frequency. Days when everything seems to go back to chaos. And on those days, the most common mistake is to panic. To think you've regressed, that you've lost everything. But that's just the ego trying to take back control. The secret in those moments is not to chase the frequency like it's outside of you. It's to remember it was already activated. And every time you hold it again, even in the middle of the noise, it gets stronger, not through mechanical repetition, but through presence, through choice. That's when the frequency stops being something you chase and becomes something you live, not as a technique, but as identity, not as a tool, but as a state of being. You no longer have to prove anything to the universe. You just vibrate. And the field, like a perfect mirror, reflects it back. So if this started to move inside you, if something is already vibrating differently, do what needs to be done now. Write in the comments, with truth, with strength, with your heart pulsing, I already am this now. Not as a memorized phrase, but as a vibrational anchor, as an energetic declaration that echoes in the field and leaves your mark. Because every word filled with truth is a wave that shifts everything around it. And don't close this video yet, because you are not alone. There's a next step prepared exactly for you, a piece of content that's going to show you, in practice, how to sustain this frequency when everything seems to pull you back. It's already there on your screen. Just click. Just keep going. Because now, it's no longer about watching. It's about living. It's about keeping lit what has been lit inside you and turning this moment into a new beginning. And if you felt this frequency touch you now, leave in the comments, I was found. This simple phrase is more than a comment. It's a vibrational declaration. It's like a signal sent to the field saying, I am ready. I am awake. And if this message touched your heart, and you feel like you can help spread this calling to more people, there's a special access in the first pinned comment. There, you can directly support the channel and be part of the movement that is awakening consciousness in the silence of the field. And don't leave yet. A special video has been set aside just for you who made it this far. It's the next step in this journey. Click now on the screen, and I'll meet you there, at the exact moment when the frequency begins to anchor in your field every single day.